Hello and welcome to the Valley Soup. I'm J Max Hurley.
And I'm Grant Musser, and this week in the stew, we'll be talking about birthdays and book reviews.
Tasty!
Okay, so it's been a while since we've done a podcast here, but I'm very excited about this one, Grant. We have multiple guests joining us. Our first one being Gretchen Payne. Thanks for joining us, Gretchen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Gretchen, we'd like to ask you, what exactly is the book you'll be doing a review on?
The book I'm doing a review on is Flowers for Algernon. It is about a man named Charlie Gordon who's 37 years old, and he has a mental disability.
Interesting. Now, is this a book that you read in school?
Yes, actually, I read it last year, but before that, I read it in 6th grade.
So, is there a main theme or what's the impact that the author is trying to get to you?
So, Charlie Gordon is writing this himself. And because of his mental disability, he is spelling words wrong, and it makes the reader have to think about what he's saying and how it would sound. So as you're reading it, you're reading these words that are spelled wrong and bad punctuation, but it's how he's talking.
So it's basically making you think, if you're sitting there talking to him, that's how it is. You know, it's making the reader put themselves into a position where he's actually there in person.
Yes, he's spelling words exactly how they sound.
So basically, we're getting a look into his personal diary or journal. So it's like getting a look into his mind almost.
Yes, he marks every journal he does. They say progress report. You can see progress is spelled Progris.
Interesting. So I'm assuming you enjoyed reading this.
Oh, I loved this book.
And like you said, you read it before you had to read it in class, and so I'm sure you had an advantage there. So is there any themes that go along with this book?
Yes. So Charlie Gordon is being tested. He's getting the surgery that the scientists did on mice. And they're using their they've done multiple people, but it's never worked. And Charlie's doing it for science so they can figure out what will work. And so they're doing this surgery, and it's supposed to make him smart. It's supposed to up his IQ, and he's supposed to learn all of these things, but the outcome could not be permanent. So he goes into the surgery, and he sees Algernon. Algernon is a mouse who they did the same surgery on, and he relates to Algernon because they're both getting this done. And so he gets the surgery done, and at first it's slow, but then he is taking in all of this information and becoming so smart that he's questioning his doctors. And you can see throughout the book that his punctuation is perfect, and that his spelling is perfect, and he's using bigger words and more vocabulary.
So throughout the course of the book, you can see his growth as a person.
Yes.
I'd like to know, is there any books that you could compare this to, or is this a completely original, unique story in itself?
I would say this is very original because of how it's written, but I would also say yes, because the book, there's so many books about new growth and going through something and having to come back from it.
So it can kind of fit into that category, but at the same time, it's not like every other story.
Yes, because the way he spells things and you see how he thinks it should be spelled.
Tell you what, that's pretty interesting, and that'll wrap up our first book review here on the Valley Soup. I'd like to thank you again for joining us, Gretchen. So we'll say goodbye to Gretchen here.
Adios, Gretchen.
See you later.
Now we'd like to introduce April Boss. April Boss is a member of the journalism club here at school, and she's writing an article on the broadcasting club.
So I'd like to thank you for joining us, April.
Thanks for having me.
So I'd like you to just explain what you're writing about and basically what the article is going to be.
So in the beginning of the year, Justice Rehart wrote an article just talking about the club in general. But this time I'm going to focus it on the podcast because we finally actually presented some and posted them onto the YouTube channel, and now people can actually watch them. So I'm going to display all your hard work and show the community how far we've come from the beginning of the year to now.
Well, I'd like to thank you for doing that because it is a lot of work that goes into this. And for those of you that don't know, like I said, we were making this podcast. It is November 2nd. a Friday, and most likely it will not be put on YouTube until at least next week, probably Tuesday. I'd hope Monday, but I'm going to guess Tuesday, because there's just hours of work that go into the podcast in front of and behind the scenes.
Yeah, all the hard work takes so much time for you guys, so I just really want to show everyone that our small school is doing such a big thing. A lot of the schools around us don't have such a high-tech broadcasting club, and it's really cool to show that a few students can take something and go so much further with it.
Yeah, like Jay said, though, we're really hoping that with this article, April said that she's going to try to show everyone like what goes into this, but we'd like to show, it's not just Jay and I sitting here talking the whole time. I mean, Jay's got to do scrubbing and stuff like that on the podcast. We've got plenty of people in here. We have Garrett Funk sitting here right now, who's just running everything except for these microphones we're talking into. So I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than just Jay and I talking on these microphones, and I think that's something that April is really going to be able to show in this article.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you one more time, April, for coming on here, and I'd like to a big thanks for you writing an article for us. It makes us feel pretty good about ourselves that we're making an impact on our community.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to show everyone how much you guys have working.
Alrighty, well, that does it for April on our podcast.
So on Wednesday night, as we all know, Wednesday of last week I should say, because it's probably going to be coming out on Tuesday, it was Halloween, and we'd like to talk now about some of our favorite Halloween candies and what do we do for Halloween.
Well, Grant, I'm not one for candy necessarily, but if I had to choose, I'm a Kit Kat man.
Oh, Jay, you're telling me.
You give me a Kit Kat, I'll be happy the rest of my life.
Now, let me tell you though, you better eat that Kit Kat by breaking off one of those pips. If you're not breaking off one of those Kit Kats and you're just going at it, just eating
like a caveman.
Like a caveman.
Yeah.
I can't enjoy Kit Kats like that.
No, I mean, I've seen it happen before, and what I do is I walk up to them and I just slap them. You just can't be doing that kind of thing with a Kit Kat, and I can't think of any other candy that's like that. I mean, I know there's foods like that. You hear people complain about string cheese.
Yeah.
If you don't bite string cheese, you might as well just quit. And I know we're being very polarizing right now with our opinions, but this is basically facts if we're going to be honest here.
And I think one of the candies I also enjoy, I'd like to say I'm more of a candy guy. I'm not big into the chocolate, but I don't know why, but Skittles. People say they don't like Skittles. Skittles are a solid candy.
You know what, Grant? I do not like Skittles.
See, that's what I'm saying.
The diversity on this podcast is just amazing.
And Airheads. Airheads are marvelous too.
Now, I would not go as far as saying marvelous, but I do like them.
Yeah.
I can enjoy them. So, like I said before, this is November 2nd. I'd like to wish my co-host Grant Musser a happy belated birthday. His birthday was yesterday, November 1st. He turned 17, his big day.
Thank you, Jay. I mean, it was a very fun day. I enjoyed it very much. But now I'd like to thank my co-host, J. Max Hurley, a very happy birthday here on November 2nd. He's turning 18 today. Welcome to the adult world, Jay.
Yeah, I really don't know what to say to that other than the fact I'm glad, Grant, that for 24 hours each year, we are the same age.
The same age. And I think that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And 24 hours.
I think it's a bond that we share. Because if you look at it, and I have some information here on birthdays, and I think it's very interesting. So there's a study done that if you had a group of 70 people, you pick 70 random people, there's a 99.9% chance that two of those people are going to have the same birthday.
That's crazy.
Now, and I don't understand, there's 365 opportunities every year for different birthdays, but somehow a group of 70 are going to have a double.
0.1% chance that it is not a double birthday. That's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. Listening to the morning announcements this morning, I'm the only birthday on this day in our high school, and I'm not sure about our elementary, but I don't know. How many kids are in our high school? A couple hundred?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
7 grades of around 60 kids, 50, 60 kids. So yeah.
And yesterday, you are the only one with a birthday on your birthday.
Yeah, I only know of one other person, personally know one other person who has the same birthday as me.
Yeah, and it's weird though, but they don't go to our school.
Yeah.
So it's you take this number like what. Well, we know the numbers. I'd like to know the percent chance of that happening back-to-back days.
Yeah.
And the fact that we are both on this podcast, it's just kind of it's really cool.
Yeah.
And
it simply is.
So this got me thinking, what other cool facts are there about November 2nd, considering today is November 2nd?
Well, it's a Friday. That's pretty cool.
Well,
I like Fridays.
I like Fridays too. Friday's the best day of the week, if you ask me. Along with Kit Kat. If I have a Kit Kat on a Friday.
Oh my gosh, Jay. Now you're just...
Talk about a gift.
You're telling me.
All right. So it's one thing that, I don't know, years ago I found this fact out, and I don't know why, but it stuck with me. So if you look at our presidents, we've had 45 presidents.
45 of them.
So if you look at the percentage, and let me look here, there is a graph. Out of 45 people, the percent chance of there being a double is roughly 91% chance. And there is only one double, and that double falls on this day. So,
crazy.
President James Polk and Warren Harding both share a birthday with themselves and me. You know, November 2nd, you might think, oh, that's a random day. And you'd be right. Because if you look back on this day in history, I'd argue nothing happened. Nothing. Especially not in U.S. history. Look here at some events. So a lot of these events that happened on this day, there's one from the year 676.
Whoa.
So, you know, and I don't even know how to say these people's names, but basically a new pope replaced the old one to reign over the Catholic Church. Important? No, not at all to us. However, that is the first one on the list.
I mean, I think that's sort of important in the Catholic Church community, but in 676, I'm pretty sure that most Catholics probably did not know that.
Yeah, you know, and I myself am not Catholic, but I'm going to guess that any of my Catholic friends or anyone, they don't even have to be friends. I don't think anyone knows that because that's just ridiculous. And looking here, the latest important thing, now I say important, I'm sure there's other things that could be important, but this website here, in 1813, the Treaty of, now I'm really going to mess this name up, but it's Fulda, signed in Germany after the Battle of Leipzig. So I don't know how that fits in with our world, but I'm telling you what, it's important and it's on my birthday.
Jimmy G, the Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad I share his birthday.
And, hold on one sec, Danny Amendola. 2 former Patriots, 2 Super Bowl winners, and Jay likes the Patriots.
I was going to say, what a coincidence. My favorite NFL team, the Patriots, and 2 presidents.
Bonkers.
Like, what do we even say to that, Grant? Like, how do we even move on from this?
I have one thing to say, though. Legends are born in November.
100% agree. You name one legend that wasn't. You can't do it. You can't do it. Now, looking around here in our studio, we see there's four other people in the studio with us. And when I asked, name one other legend, they all pointed to themselves. And I want to say one thing. I'm very disappointed. How can you be so self-centered while I'm sitting here praising myself on my birthday? I don't know, Grant. Maybe I should not have said that, but, you know, I did. And, this is what the podcast, this is what the Valley Soup is about. We're just, in here talking about daily events. Now, I say daily. I'm talking about stuff from the year 676. So, it's really whatever. We're just having fun with this.
And, Jay, the fact that, like I said earlier, legends are born in November. I am the only legend that I can find who was born on November 1st. No, I'm just messing with you. But for real, I can't find any other person that I seriously know who's born on November 1st besides rapper Lil Peep, who recently passed away in 2017. Rip Lil Peep.
That's interesting, Grant. And Now, right now, I'm looking up some famous people born in November. And let's see. David Schwimmer.
I know.
Legend.
Shout out all my friends, fans.
I am
Great
one.
show.
Great show. I agree.
David Schwimmer, A1 actor. Love the man.
And fun fact about David Schwimmer, his birthday, November 2nd.
I know. Ridiculous.
Like, what do we might as well just, if we had a mic to drop right now, I'm pretty sure we'd be dropping it.
And it's been dropped.
Amen.
Matthew McConaughey. I'm going to say it again. Matthew McConaughey. November 4th.
It's just unbelievable to me how awesome November is. Now, we might be biased.
Maybe a little bit.
There is a slight chance we're biased about November, but that's okay. When you're the host on the Valley Soup, you can be biased,
Mm-hmm. Leonardo DiCaprio. November.
Grant, that's just amazing. The stuff that we've learned today while doing I did not know any of these people.
The most beautiful man on the planet, Ryan Gosling, November 12th. November 12th, the day after Leonardo DiCaprio. This is just absurd. Absurd.
I'm really starting to think with the whole idea of the presidents being part of this, we have to look into what does the government have to do with this? There has to be something there. It can't be just the stars cannot align to this.
There has to be a theory about how all these people are being born in November, because it's just ridiculous. These are absolute animals being born in November.
And this brings something to my mind. It's a theory about birthdays. So we ask ourselves, why do we celebrate? I walked in the building this morning. I don't know how many happy birthdays I heard. But why is that a thing? And, we could go on and on about it for a long time, but I really think it boils down to one thing. We're celebrating surviving another year.
I think you're right.
And it might sound a little morbid, and I mean it in a good way. We make it another year of life. It should be a celebration. Every day should be a celebration, but we set aside this one day because it was the day that we came into the world. And it's just really interesting that something, I don't want to say so simple. It's not simple. Being born is not simple, but something.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Hurley in the room right beside us can say that is something not so simple.
Well, she probably has a lot to say about that. And I just don't know if she's not in the room, so we don't have to ask her.
Yeah.
So I think that was smart on our part.
Yes.
But, it's amazing how something so small and in this grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. It does not matter if I was born on November 1st or November 2nd. I don't think that would make a difference in my life.
I don't think that's going to determine the day you die just from being born on November 1st or 2nd.
So it's really interesting to think that people, and even us, we just spent the last 5 or 10 minutes discussing how great we are because we're born in November.
Exactly.
But why do we do that? How is that a thing? And why does everyone? I'm assuming the world. I would hope, at least in our area of the world. Why do we set aside that day just to celebrate?
Exactly, because think about it. It is something, like Jay said, so small, but we take for granted the fact that we're on this planet every day. The fact that we could not be here tomorrow whenever we wake up is just crazy. But now that we take this one day a year to celebrate us making it another year, and that's just something that is truly fun. Celebrating that, it always ends up being fun.
Yeah, and you're definitely right about that, Grant. So, wrapping up here on our 5th edition of the Valley Soup, I'd like to thank Gretchen and April for joining us once more, and I'd like to thank Grant and wish you once again a happy belated birthday.
Yes, and happy birthday once again to you, Jay. Remember, legends are born in November and every other month because we're all legends.
That's right. Thank you for listening.